Now this video is about the TomTom Rider 550 sat-nav. So that's the one I bought and it has been brilliant. It's been a fantastic, it does what it says on the box. However, on the way home, this happened.
I've lost the sat-nav screen. It switched itself off for no apparent reason. Now I'm going to have to pull over here because I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to carry on or stop. So we're going to have to get this sat-nav working. This is so annoying.
Now that's a sat-nav that I decided to go out and buy 2 years ago for two main reasons. The first one is the Rider gives you the facility to plan a thrilling route to any particular destination. You can program in the height of the route you want to take, how high you want to go and how windy you want the roads to be, which is a fantastic feature. So that was the key reason why I bought it, because I wanted to use it in my sports car to take me on some thrilling routes. But the other reason I bought the Rider 550 was, as the name implies, a rider means it can go on a bike as well. So that's the one I bought and it has been brilliant. It's been a fantastic, it does what it says on the box. It even took me all around the north of Scotland. It took me on some fantastic routes in my Alfa Romeo 4C. We had some fantastic routes, and then when I mounted it on my BMW GS last year, again it worked brilliantly, finding some amazing routes that I didn't even know existed within 20 miles of where I live. So very good product, did its job well. And on one route I was taking when I was riding back from North Yorkshire, the screen cut out intermittently. Every now and again it would just go blank for what appeared to be no apparent reason. During the winter the sat-nav got put back in its case and stored. But last week I needed to use the unit to get me to a BMW bike dealer that I'd never been to before, because they were servicing my BMW GS. So I mounted the unit onto my GS bike and it did get me to the dealership absolutely fine, no problem, despite it being pouring rain, etc. It was absolutely fine. On the way home, this happened.
I've lost the sat-nav screen. It switched itself off for no apparent reason. Now I'm going to have to pull over here because I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to carry on or stop. So we're going to have to get this sat-nav working. This is so annoying. Brand new freshly surfaced road, this one, and the sat-nav has switched itself off again. I'm going to pull into this car park and see if we can't reset it. I'm going to turn the orientation lock off, see if that helps. And believe it or not, the screen has flicked off again. I think what I'm going to do is restart it. God, this is annoying. Let's see if we can't reset this sat-nav and have another go. And the screen's just gone off, so it appears that rotating it has something to do with it.
The screen just kept cutting out all the time. I pulled over, I checked the battery and the battery was over 3/4 full. I rebooted the sat-nav several times, tried locking the orientation, all these things, and yet it just didn't seem to stop the problem. Now the sat-nav is in absolutely mint condition. As you can see, there's no marks on it. It does have a protective screen cover on it as well. When I carry it around, I always carry it in the official TomTom wallet, so it's absolutely mint. It's never had any damage or dropping or anything like that, so there's no reason I could think of why it would suddenly start blanking out. So when I got home, I decided to look at it a lot closer to see if I could find what the problem was and why it started blanking out. So this is the problem I've got with the TomTom Rider 550. So at the moment it's working, and I can rotate the image and it works, as you can see, working absolutely fine. And here I've got the TomTom official mount, which came with it, and it's for this bike, and I'm gonna now plonk the screen, place the screen onto the TomTom official mount. There we go, it's now on its mount. Rotate it. Rotate it. And it goes off. And there you go, and there that is off. And that's not me switching it off. The switch to switch it off is over here. I'm rotating it from here. And yeah, you've really got to press it hard to switch it back on again as well, and to switch it off. And I'm pressing it here. We've got it back on. Look, that's good. There we go. Rotate it, switches itself off again. Okay, now I think I've got to the bottom of why this TomTom appears to switch itself off when it's mounted on its official mount. And it's only when it's mounted on its official mount that it switches off. And I think it's to do with something at the back here. There's a sensitive area on the back here, whether it's due to cabling or wiring or whatever it is, I don't know. But I'll show you, because I can sort of simulate it by just doing it with my hand here. So what I'm going to do is just hold it in my hand, and when we mount it on the back, there's like a pressure point. There you go, it's gone. It's gone. So it's gone off because I pressed gently on the back here. There's like a pressure point on the back here which I pressed on, and that caused the thing to just switch off. So I think, given that to be the case, it's clearly a fault with the design of the item. In theory I should send it back really, but I think I've got a solution, very, very inexpensive solution, that should solve it. This is my solution to the TomTom cutting out problem. So I bought a very simple waterproof enclosed case for the bike. It had to be a special one that was deep enough, because the TomTom's so big. It's you can't use an ordinary phone case. It has to be a one designed for sat-navs. Now, though it's waterproof, the Rider is in fact waterproof anyway, but that doesn't matter. It's a very inexpensive solution, which I think is going to work. And all you do is you unzip it here and just drop the TomTom into there, which is what I am going to do now. So there we go. That's the TomTom fitted inside the holder. As you can see, everything still works as it would do. So we can still use it. It does work with gloves on as well, because this little holder is designed to be used with sat-navs. So let's take it for a ride out and see if it works. Time to find out whether this sat-nav mount is going to work. So I can read it okay. The only thing is, I am getting quite a bit of reflection off the plastic cover from the casing, which of course I didn't get when it didn't have a plastic casing over it. So it does make it a little bit harder to read. It's not a big deal, if I'm honest. I can still read it, keeping in mind we're in overcast conditions, so I guess if the sun was out and it was bright, it would be a little bit harder to read. But then I've only got the brightness at 55%, so if I was to turn the brightness on the sat-nav up, then obviously it'd be better. So we'll give it. I can only go a few miles because we're still on lockdown. And no, I'm afraid, no, I thought it had gone off, but it hadn't.
It did sort of flick off there. That is interesting. It did appear to just very quickly and briefly switch off there, but it was back on within like a second. I thought that was it. I thought it had gone, but no, it's back. Do need fuel. The fuel warning light's on, so we'll have a ride to the garage. I've programmed in just a random route on this thing just to make sure it's working, and it is. So far so good. Now the other thing people will say is, using the official TomTom mount, it has got a power supply built in, which it has, but this mount can also be supplied with power through this. In the side here there's a little like valve where you can feed power leads through it. So this case is a very, very cheap solution then. Less than £14 UK, that's less than $20 US based on the current exchange rate. That's a very, very inexpensive fix. I'm going to ignore the directions that the sat-nav's asking me to go, because I'm literally just testing that it stays on and works. So we're going to go on a little ride around the block, have some fun, and see if this thing stays on. Well, this bike's definitely running a lot better since it had its service last week. My goodness, it seems to be even quicker and smoother than before. Well, that was a pretty successful test. Not only does the bike ride a hell of a lot better since its service, but the sat-nav cutting out problem seems to have been solved. The other thing I didn't point out is, when you finish with it, if you want to remove it from the base, if you're going for a coffee or something like that, you can literally just unclip it like that, and there you go.
It does seem to have solved the problem, temporarily at least, by putting the TomTom into a waterproof case. Although it did rather worryingly cut out for that 1 second as we were riding out initially, but it seems to be fine other than that. Now, obviously that's not the ultimate solution to this. It does need to go back to the manufacturer, because I believe it's a design flaw with the product. It really shouldn't do that when mounted on its own TomTom mount. So if you've got a TomTom Rider 550, or you've got a TomTom Rider of other versions that you've experienced this same problem, please do let me know, especially if you've found a solution that's different to mine that actually works and keeps the thing running. In the meantime, there'll be more stuff coming up, and as always, thanks for watching.